video, and I just want to give you my 2 cents on it. So let's do it.
Family, I got a very important message for you guys today. If you drive Uber, Lyft, do any type of food delivery, Postmates, Amazon, whatever the case may be, you need to watch this video because there's a lot of information that you need to know about. So I was at the auction last week and I was checking out a lot of the repos, and they had a whole row of repos with nothing but Uber and Lyft stickers in the windshields. So as I was
Go
walking
figure.
through checking out the car,
Let me guess. Probably because people are getting loans on them and saying they're not doing Uber, Lyft, or whatever, and then the bank finds out and repos them.
cars, I ended up bumping into the bank rep. And I asked him, "Are these your cars?" He said, "Yes." And so we started going over some of the cars and the prices. And then I asked him, "Are all these, repos?" And he says, "Yes, some of them are repos
Mm.
because they defaulted on payments, but
Ah,
more than
defaults,
half of
right?
these cars are taken because they were using them for commercial use."
There
Now,
you
I
go.
made a video about this probably about almost 2 years ago today,
Mm-hmm.
talking about how the market is changing and how Uber and Lyft are absolutely destroying
Saw
cars
that video. Good
and
video.
causing banks to lose millions of dollars. Well, fast forward to today, and those changes have been made, and we're starting to see the ramifications on the market. Now, when I first opened up my dealership, I had banks that were giving away cars and loans to people that were driving Uber, Lyft, Postmates, Amazon delivery,
Right.
whatever the case may be, because they're using it to make extra money,
Right.
and they thought that they'd basically take over that market. But what they found out was a lot of the drivers tended to not take care of the cars, rack up a bunch of miles,
Right.
and not pay down to depreciation or put more.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. I mean, if you've got someone, right, average Joe here, right, who buys a 2015 Cadillac Escalade so that they can go do DoorDash, and they're averaging 10 deliveries a day, and they're putting about 5 to 600 miles a day on that vehicle. I mean, think about that. It's 5, 10, 15, 20, 2,500 miles a week. So 25, 57, that's like 100,000 miles a month, right? 25, 50 cents, because it's 4 weeks in a month. So imagine to the bank's surprise when they find out that they go get an oil change, and all of a sudden this Cadillac Escalade that they have a lien on has 50,000 miles. Who's not gonna think, huh, something's going on here? Why are they driving this much? Interesting. And you can't tell me that that's not possible. I could see people totally driving everywhere in their state to make 10 deliveries a day to make extra money. Because, why why would you care as a consumer? You don't own the car, it's the bank. The bank's the one that takes most of the risk because they're the one that have the loan out on the car. Sure, you have to pay the insurance, but that's because you don't own it. You're the one driving it, so of course you're gonna have to pay full coverage. So if something happens, you're covered. But anyways, let's get back to the video.
More money down. They basically just beat up the cars and left them be. Now,
Yeah,
after years of this happening, of banks losing millions of dollars,
right,
they decided to go ahead and change the rules. And this is what we talked about 2 years ago. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know.
right. And I'm gonna just want to say this in case you like don't really know how the car market works or you might be new. Reason why banks would be losing money, is if you've got a 2-year-old car that has 100,000 miles on it. Well, it's only worth like 7 grand when, you know, and if the bank's only getting 7 grand from the buyer, right? From payments, they're just losing out on a ton of money because like they didn't when banks give these loans, they kind of go off of, okay, you're just driving to and from work, so we should be making money, and also the car is going to be depreciating. But they're not taking into account that much depreciation because you lied technically. You don't lie to a bank. They will find out and they will come bring the hammer down on you. Whether that be readjusting your loan, right? Actually giving you proper terms, or just outright like what Lucky's saying. They'll just take your car because they've had it with this because that's how they lose money. Is now when you go in and you trade the car in, well, they're expecting to make like 10 15,000, and now they just lost 10 15,000. And if you lose 10 15,000 dollars on hundreds of thousands of cars, you're losing a lot of money. And if banks lose lots of money, then they get stricter on their lending practices. And this is why it affects you as a consumer. Because now, if you rely on that bank to get a loan to get a car, you're in trouble now because now they have to raise the criteria, raise the interest rate. They have to do everything to cut their losses. So at the end of the day, you're still paying as a consumer. That's why I always tell my friends, if you can, save money. If you can save 5, 10 grand, save 5, 10 grand, and then whatever that is. So if you save five, put half of that on a deposit, 2,500 bucks. If you save 10, give 5 grand. And if you can't be putting money down, you should not be buying a car. Go to Facebook Marketplace. I'm sorry. I know that's cruel, but that's the reality of the world we live in. I rarely buy used cars. I usually just go on Facebook Marketplace or KSL. Learn a skill. Learn how to change your oil. Learn how to do your brakes. Learn how to change your tires. Learn how to check these things because they will pay very, very, they'll pay in the long run. I mean, God, you can do your own oil change for 30, 40 bucks now. Go take it to any place. They're not going to charge you 30, 40 bucks. They're going to charge you 100 bucks, 120, maybe 80 if you're lucky. So learn these skills. I'm telling you, it will save you money. And if you can maintain your car, um, that's good. That's a good skill to learn.
Know today. If you are
Let's keep
using
going.
your traditional vehicle, which you went out and got a loan in your personal name for
Right.
commercial use, depending on the bank, they have the rights to basically repo the cars from you
Of
because
course,
it's not
it's probably
using
in the
for its
contract or
intended
something.
purpose.
Yeah.
So a lot of leases are like this as well. BMW Financial, if you're doing Uber, Lyft, Turo, something like that,
Don't use a
they will take the
BMW for
car right
that.
from you. I've seen it happen.
That
I've had people
is.
call me, say this is illegal. I'm current on my payments. But if you've broken that agreement, you basically
Exactly.
get to
It's not
forfeit your car.
illegal if it's in the
Now, a lot of
contract.
people that have been purchasing cars for
All
the
you have
last
to
few
read
years, I've
it.
been saying it over and over again. You need to read your contract to see if there's any type of ride share or any type of delivery apps
Hmm.
noted in the actual writing.
Most banks, when I got my used car back in 2018, that was a long time ago, it said in the contract, you are not to use this car for Lyft or Uber or rideshare. And if you do, it can't have more than X amount of miles, or else we're just going to, we're going to well, they would change back in 2018 for my specific dealer, they would change the rate. They weren't going to repo it. But, I never really used it for Lyft or Uber. There were a few times, but I never put like 500 miles on my car. It was pretty much standard. I wouldn't do Lyft, Uber all that often. But anyways, let's keep going.
Of the contract, which I'm sure none of you guys read, because I know
Yeah,
the economy's slow and there's a lot of people out there that are
most people
looking to
don't.
try to make some extra money because it's rough out there. Costs have
Yeah, for
gone through
sure.
the roof. Inflation's basically taken on everything. Gas is double, rent's double, your car insurance is double. Everything is pretty much double except your paycheck. So I'm sure
Yeah.
most of you guys, after hearing this, are like, "Oh, banks are jerks. They're greedy. They just want to take your money and rip people off. They should just let people do what they want." Well, the reason is banks have really strict underwriting for a reason, and everything is due
Right.
to risk. Now, this is very important.
Well, to add to Lucky's point, banks aren't charities. They've got a lot of money, but they also take on a lot of risk. And I'm not defending big corporations and banks. There are crappy banks and there are good banks. There are crappy credit unions, there are good credit unions. But at the end of the day, you as the consumer decide whether or not to get in that loan. You decide, well, I needed a car and well, you don't need to go sign that 12% interest paper. Go get a different car. Go shop around. Quit being desperate. That's the problem. They prey on people who are desperate. If you know how to snag a good deal, do it. When I had my 2015 Kia Forte in 2020, they called me into the dealer. A true story, by the way. They called me into the dealer and said, "Hey, I think I can get you a better deal on a car that we have." I went in there. There was a Camaro I liked. It had 54,000 miles. It was a 2010, though, mind you, right? 2010 Camaro. I was like, "Oh, this is a pretty nice car. Cool." I looked at it. I'm like, the bumper is messed up. The bumper was complete. Like looked like it got. It looks like it got in a fender bender or something. So the bumper was all messed up. The key fob was ruined. And the guy's like, "Oh, well, we just got this car. We're gonna fix this." And so I was like, "Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, I'm interested in this car. But they wanted to charge me $18,000 for that car for a 2010. Mind you, this is 2020, so it's a 10-year-old car, right? And they're like, "Well, we can go to 18." And they're like, "It has really low miles, 54,000." I'm like, "Bro, that doesn't matter. My car is 5 years newer. It has this was the Forte turbocharged, the hatchback one, the Forte 5. So it had like the pleather seats and the navigation and the moonroof. Like this sucker was fully loaded. I'm like, why does that matter? My car is fully loaded. Sure, it may not have a big V6, but I bet it could probably keep up with this Camaro. I'm like, this is not worth $18,000. This is not a good deal. Like, I'll do it if you wanna pay off the loan, and then it's if you charge me like 12 grand, I think that's fair. They're like, we can't do that. We can't do that. And then the guy got all butthurt. I thought you wanted to buy a car. I'm like, no, I didn't want to buy a car. You said you could give me a better deal, and this is not a good deal. Like, you need to stand firm against these assholes, because there are asshole dealerships out there. It's like, I came in here. You should be thankful I'm giving you an opportunity to convince me to buy a product. That's not a good sales pitch. Hey, give us more money. That's a terrible sales pitch. They could have twisted the numbers. They could have like, look, we want to get this sell. This car is in crappy condition. We know it. He knows it. We need to replace the key fob. We need to replace the bumper. We need to do all of this. Heck, they could have even convinced me, hey, we'll sell it to you as is for 8 grand, and we'll buy your car. But you're gonna have to pay for everything and get everything fixed. I would have been fine with that. But they didn't even want to do that. Like, that's the problem, is people don't want to negotiate. They just want to give you a shit deal and expect you to be thankful for it. It's like, you gotta know what you want out of the deal. If dealerships are not willing to negotiate with you, you need to walk away. And most people don't know how to walk away. And then they're in these loans for $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, and then they're upside down. They owe more than what the car's worth because they wanted it. They had to have it. It was the newest, shiniest thing. Well, is it worth it if you're upside down the car's worth 40, but you owe 80,000 on it? Just saying.
Important. When they give you a loan for a vehicle as a person, they're
Just
looking at
saying,
you, the
don't kill the
individual. They're looking
messenger.
at your personal
Most
credit.
people
They're
do
looking at
this.
your job, and they already have the data on you. If they look in your area and say, okay, this guy is a plumber, he drives X amount of miles per year, this is
Mm-hmm.
his rating, we're going to give him this car at 72 months at 6% interest because this is
Mm-hmm.
what the risk requires.
Right.
Now, if you start to skew this, hey, this guy is not using this for personal use, he's using this for delivery. Oh, well, guess what?
Well,
Now
people
it
probably aren't
requires a
even
bigger
doing
down
that
payment.
anymore.
It
Yeah.
requires higher interest, so that 6% is gone. Now it's closer to 10 to 15%. And then on top of that, it goes from 72 months to probably 48 months. Now, I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, why would they change all these things? It's once again, it's to offset the risk.
Right.
So, as a rental car company, every time I purchased a new vehicle
Yeah.
to rent out,
That's why nowadays you're never gonna see no money down. You're always gonna see money down because it's like the moment that car drives off the lot, it depreciates. Even if it's used, it depreciates. They sell you an $8,000 car, you just lost $1,500 the moment you drove it off the lot. Like, cars are not a good asset to be investing money in, yet people do it. And
I got a
dealerships know
commercial
this, so
loan.
they just
So
keep
that meant
screwing
I was
people
paying
over because
10%
people keep
interest instead
allowing
of,
it. If people
6%.
quit
I was paying
allowing this
48
crap, then
months
you'd see
because
it
they wanted to
stop,
make
but it
sure that I
won't
was
ever
using this
stop
car to
because there's
make money,
people that
that I would pay
are
bigger payments
desperate to
to
get into
pay down the
cars
depreciation
to
because they know that if I'm
to
using it
impress
for
people
commercial
that they don't
use,
even know
I'm
or
going to be
care
racking up
about.
miles. It's going to be doing all this crazy stuff. So they want to offset their risk
No.
by doing this. This is why when you go get a commercial auto loan, a lot of times the furthest they will go is 60 months. And
Yep.
it will be a higher interest rate because it's more of a risk because it's commercial. You're using it for
Yeah.
business. This is how
I mean, kind of think of commercial auto loans like leasing a car. It's similar terms. Like, they give you X amount of months and you can't put a certain amount of mileage on it, and you're expected to put gas in the tank, maintain the car, put insurance on it, all of that stuff. That's kind of how banks are doing that.
like we make jokes about all these rental car companies being fake because they don't have any of this stuff. They don't know how it works.
Yeah.
Everybody's always trying to get the lowest payment
But they're doing
possible.
that with
And that's what
payments,
happened
right? They're
with
going,
Uber, Lyft
this
drivers, and
person's
everything else.
driving five,
They're
ten
buying these
thousand
cars, especially during
miles
the
a month.
pandemic, with
Okay,
no money
three hundred
down,
dollars,
cars probably 10,
four hundred
15,
dollars,
$20,000 over MSRP.
before the interest
They
rate.
basically did a forbearance program, didn't make any payments for the first 2 years. And fast forward to
Like, if you're driving a commercial car, I would say a good deal is like double of what a standard car payment is. I mean, I might be out of touch here because back when I got a used car, my car payment was like 280 a month. So I think 500-600 is like totally doable if you're gonna go buy a car for commercial use.
2 years later, now these cars got 100,000 miles on them,
Maybe
and
I'm
you
out of
owe
touch. That might be
forty,
an out
fifty
of
thousand
touch
dollars. The
take.
car's worth
Maybe
20
a
grand.
thousand is the
What are
norm
people
now.
going to
I don't
do?
know.
Guess what? They're dumping them at the auction. They're
Yeah.
telling the banks, I don't want this. This car's got too many miles. It's beat up. It's falling
Yeah,
apart.
that's the
It's
problem.
costing me
They can't
money.
make a
Here
profit
you
off of
go.
that.
And too many people are doing that at once, and banks are
Mm-hmm.
losing millions of dollars every
Yup.
single quarter.
That makes
So,
sense.
this is why a lot of banks instituted these rules a few years ago,
And
stating
they're
that
gonna get
if you do
stricter,
any type of
more.
ride share, delivery, anything like
Yup.
that, the car that's being used for commercial use, they have the right to basically take the car back if you
Yup.
lied to them. And some of
Yeah,
them,
don't
and
lie to
depending
them,
on what
guys.
state you're in, they can
Seriously.
actually change your interest and your payments
Yep.
on your car. Now, this has been a hot topic for years, and I know people have always been going back and forth. Should I do the right thing and tell my insurance company? Should I do the right thing and tell the bank? I know you guys don't want to hear this. I would tell my bank and I would tell my insurance, because I'm sure some of you guys don't even have the right insurance. Because if you crash and you're doing Uber and somebody in the back seat,
Gets
is not
hurt.
covered,
Yeah.
they're going to try to sue you, sue Uber, and it's just a
Mm-hmm.
big headache. And if insurance doesn't know you're doing that, they may
Exactly.
drop you or sue you themselves. So you got to
Yep.
be very careful with this stuff. Now, unfortunately, as I was talking to the banker there at the auction, he was telling me that they have a whole campaign now of going after people that are doing rideshare and stuff like that,
Oh
because
my
back in the
gosh.
day, the banks didn't
Seriously?
want the
There's
cars
like a
back,
department.
because if that meant if I had to take
Oh
this
my
Lamborghini
god.
back and you owed 100
Oh,
grand on it, but today it's only worth
that's
50, that
bad.
means that I'm losing $50,000 of money when I sell it at the auction and it's gone.
You know what's bad if banks literally make a new department, like the rideshare department, where they go after. That's what he's meaning, I'm pretty sure. At least that's what I'm translating as. There's an actual department that goes after these people that are doing this. Like, that's bad if banks are investing money. Banks are only going to do that if they think it's worthwhile to throw money at the problem to save money. And that's probably why they're doing it.
So I'd rather have the
Like,
customer keep it,
yikes, that's
hopefully make some
bad.
payments, and I can recoup some of that money. But now that the market is so basically backwards
Jeez.
now, they're losing money no matter what they do. So they'd rather get the cars back. So they're actually
Right.
scaling up this effort to go get more of their
Makes
vehicles.
sense.
They were telling me that they have
Rather
over
get a car that you
10,000
can
vehicles that are being
salvage
used currently
whatever's
right now
left of
for
it
Uber,
versus
Postmates,
no
or
car
some
at
sort of
all.
delivery.
Yeah.
And so if the banks know it, I'm telling you, they're going to
Yeah,
find out.
man.
So if you're doing any type of ride
Yeah,
share and you
listen to
haven't
Lucky,
discussed it with
guys.
your
Just
bank,
if
you
you're
probably
gonna
should
do
call
that
them
full
and
time,
figure that out.
you need to
Now, if
tell
for
your
some
insurance
reason
and
your
your
bank
bank
doesn't
for
allow
sure.
this, what you can do is you can go to other financial institutions, local state banks.
Well, if your bank doesn't allow that, just be like, okay, won't do that. I'm gonna go to a different bank. And you need to get that process, yeah, because it's not good to just shoot yourself in the foot for a quick buck. It's gonna bite you.
Credit unions, wherever you can, and tell them, hey, look, I'm using this card for commercial purposes. I'd like to refinance this out of my personal name. Maybe get
Mm,
an LLC, or if you want to create a sole proprietor, put that in there. So this way, maybe you can start building business credit along with protecting
right.
yourself. So this way, the bank's not going to take your car because you're doing a commercial loan. They know exactly what you're using the
Yeah,
vehicle
they
for.
know.
Now,
They
here's
know what's
something to
going
think
on.
about. If
So
you're
if
doing
something
rideshare
happens,
and
they're
you're
ready.
current on all your payments and they take your car and they repo it and they turn
You know how you don't like it when something just comes up in your life and throws a wrench in your plans? Well, banks don't like that either.
and sell it,
Same thing.
you are still obligated to pay whatever the difference is. So if you owe
Yep.
$30,000, they take it to the auction and it sells for 10 grand, you owe the $20,000 difference. And if you
Hmm.
don't pay it, guess what happens to your credit? They're going to whack your credit. So now you're going to be
Goes
making
down.
two
Yep.
payments, one payment on your new car and a payment on your old car, or just filing bankruptcy and ruining your credit, or trying to work out something with the debtor. So unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. As the months progress, people are going to get more delinquent, more Americans are going to fall behind, and it's going to put pressure on the banks
Yeah,
to
for sure.
basically raise up or lift up their collection efforts. They're going to do whatever they
Yep.
can to get their vehicles. And I believe that they're
Yeah.
not going to stop at just rideshare. They're going to go after
Oh
people
no.
that doesn't
Yeah,
have
for sure.
insurance. I've already seen that happen. If you think you're slick and you're not paying your car insurance, they may charge you an extra fee on your loan. If they're not doing that, in some states, they have the right to protect their collateral. They can come and take the car from you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, I want to let you guys know that
Hmm.
unfortunately, this is just the way the market's going. If you are
Yeah.
doing rideshare or some
True.
sort of delivery app, please be careful. Reach out to your bank, or maybe buy a cheaper, affordable car that you can just pay cash for, so you don't have to basically burn up your personal car. I know this sucks because there's a lot of
Yeah, that's what I would tell people. Just buy a car out of pocket that you can afford. There's cars out there that run. They'll do the job. They're not gonna be nice. They're gonna have dents in the freaking back, and they're gonna smell like cat piss. But if you're just door dashing, you're not picking people up. No one's gonna care. Go drive a jalopy and go deliver your pizzas or whatever it is you're delivering, and make that bank, dude. Don't go get a Cadillac and go beat it up, and then you owe like 50,000 because you screwed over your dealer and your bank, because yeah, that can happen. I mean, it feels good to screw over the people that you think are screwing you over, but they have a lot more leverage in the deal than you do, especially if you're the one that's relying on them to get you a loan. You know what I mean?
A lot of people I've
Just
seen that
don't
now
do
that
it.
Turo, the
It's
market's
not a good
dead,
idea.
they're
Don't
basically giving
ruin
these
your
out to other people
financial
trying to rent them out
future
and do this stuff.
just because you want to
Don't
stick
be
it to the
surprised that if
man.
you wake up tomorrow, your car's gone because
No,
they're
it's
hip to this
dumb.
stuff. They know exactly what's going on. They know people are out there doing Turo, ride shares, whatever else,
Yeah, for
trying to
sure.
make whatever money they can. But at the end of the day, if it's not in your contract, don't do it. So let me know your
Right.
opinion on what the banks are doing. Do you think it's right that they're going after people and taking their
Well,
cars because they're using them for commercial use? Or do you believe they should offer some sort of payment restructure or something else like that? Would you be open to that?
I'll let you know, Lucky, right now. I I get why banks are doing it. I don't want to like it, but it's like, what other choice do they have when people are doing this? When it's in like, it's pretty much an epidemic at this point. Consumer gets car, they don't tell bank, they rack up miles, bank gets screwed out of 10, $15,000 a car, and if they have over 100,000 loans, that's a lot of money. That's millions of dollars, like you've stated. So it's like, I think it's going to have to boil down to what kind of consumer you are to that bank and what kind of relationship you have with your bank. If this bank deems it necessary to get their asset back, from this person who's high risk, I think they have every right to do that, because at the end of the day, if you're a first time car buyer and you're doing this crap, the bank's going to think you're high risk. But let's say you're Joe Schmo and you've got 12 loans under this bank and they know you're going to pay. I think they could do a working arrangement, because they're like, hey, Joe Schmo, you've had 12 loans with us. You're a good customer. You've paid back your loans. Let's work out a deal here. Let's try and figure something out. But I mean, I don't know if that's what's happening or not. I don't really buy used cars anymore. If I do, I'm gonna see if I can save like 5, 10 grand to. I wait, and you can sometimes snag a good deal when cars aren't flowing, because dealers need to get rid of them. Same with your private people. Sometimes there's even some good deals on Facebook Marketplace. Like, you just gotta know where to look, and you gotta just wait it out. I would just wait, ride the wave. I've seen some really good cars for 800 bucks that run. They don't look like not. I mean, those Dodge Neons, most of them are like 800, 1,000 bucks. That run. They sound like crap. They sound like a hunk of junk. They are basically, but hey, if they get you from point A to point B and they're not gonna blow up, it's only 1,000 bucks. If you maintain that car, I I had a Dodge Neon '96. Maintained it for months. Started running into electrical issues. I got rid of it, but it was a great car for like 3 years. 800 bucks. Great investment. I think I had to replace a driver's side mirror because it was destroyed. So that was like 150 bucks. That was fun. And then I replaced the alternator just because it was old, and I wanted to just make sure. And that's all I really had to do, and that car ran really well. It was a cheap car. I think I spent like 300 bucks total to get that car running, so $1,200 later, it was a great car. But yeah, that's what I think.